it's fun going down there. We have a lot of our alumni can go to the games, and it's nice having Minnesota come back to our building on Saturday. It's good playing against Mott's and all the guys. So no, it's a lot. It is. It's a lot of fun, and we all know that. Again, how good they are right now, and they got a heck of a hockey team. So it's going to be a challenge. It's been tough on the Minnesota. They've been tough on the Minnesota schools so far. So, but it's going to be. It's always fun playing. I mean, there's always enthusiasm and excitement with all the people.
How exciting is it for the guys to play these guys for real out of that exhibition format this year?
Yeah, we don't talk much about it. I'm sure they like it too. I mean, we have a lot of guys from the metro area, and we have our share of Minnesota kids on the roster as well. So those guys like it. I mean, there's no question. And it's again, it's always it's a challenge, and we know it's a challenge, and but it's a fun challenge. We're we got to go and play.
Obviously it's focused on the Beavers and sticking to that identity, right? But I think the Gopher forward group is one of the best in the country. And so, what does it take to slow down that forward group?
Well, first off, the Gopher forward group is one of the best in the country, as is their defensive core. So, I mean, it's both ways. And again, how do you slow them down? How do you forecheck them? I mean, that's the $1 million question. Is that we're a pretty aggressive forechecking team, and that's just our identity. That's how we play. But sometimes, again, you can be overly aggressive against the Gophers. They beat one forechecker, then obviously again they're heading up ice, and they've got numbers coming up ice. So you've got to be a little smart. You got to be a little strategic, and I mean that's the biggest thing right there is you've got to play a 200-foot game, and you got to minimize mistakes. But we all know, during a 60-minute contest, how difficult that can be.
I chatted with one of their captains, my coach, here this morning for a story about him and Juts, and he talked about just how heavy, playing teams like Bemidji State are, and you mentioned the forecheck, how hard that forecheck is, how tough it is to get the puck out of the zone, and how physical you guys are, just as the reputation of this team.
Well,
lean on that.
I appreciate Mike for saying that, and that's what we want to be. That's our identity. We have to play to our identity, though, and that's the one thing we've been consistently inconsistent with our identity this year, and we've addressed that, and we have to start. We have to start getting some consistency to our game, and that's part of it is our forecheck. Part of it is there's a lot of different things right now, and we're just trying to what we got to figure out who we are, and guys know it. Coaches know it, and those are the things that we got to work on. I've been doing this a lot of years. I told the guys this today. I've been doing this a lot of years. There has been 1 year where you don't hit the reset, where you're trying to figure out who you are. Every year, doesn't matter how good of a year you have, how average of a year or how bad of a year, there's always times throughout the year that, again, you're just trying to figure out who you are. And I even brought up today, the Edmonton Oilers last year were out of the playoffs in November. I mean, I think I was reading like there's an 18% chance, if you wanted to take a look at the historical numbers, that they'll get into the playoffs. And, so everybody goes through, their ups and downs. Everybody goes through their ups and downs. So we just gotta figure out again, ourselves out. We got to figure our own game right now is what I'm getting at, Jared. Minnesota's game, that takes care of itself. We know what we're going to see right there, but we got to figure out who we are and how we want to play as well.
And kind of going back to something I asked you on Friday about, you changed up the lines. As from a big picture perspective, when do you feel like is the right time to make a change like that, sweeping lines?
You just know. And sometimes if nothing changes, nothing changes. And you have to know that as a coach. You have to read the situation. You just know. And there's times, and you know what? It doesn't mean you don't go back to what your lines were earlier as well. But there's just times you gotta mix it up. You gotta shake some things up. Some players need to have they need to have a wake up call. And there's just a lot of things that go into it.
Coach, you're going in and out of CCH play, and obviously this week you're going out of CCH play. Obviously, that's not going to change trying to win the game, but do games feel different when you go in and out of conference play? Right?
Not really, but they're different when you play Minnesota, I can tell you that. That's, that's a different animal right there. I mean, again, just take a look at their record. Goals for, goals against differential. There's just a lot of things, you look at, but again, it's different. Sometimes it's different when you play them, but it can't be different for us. You still want to play. You want to be who you are. You want to be who you are, and but there's no question you got to play a little differently against those guys. Especially in that building. And again, I know they shrunk it, but it's still a little wider, still a little deeper, and they tell you those fans. It gets loud in there. When they get revved up, it gets loud, and it can be intimidating as well. So you got to try to do the best you can to block that out.
Yeah, I think we're excited. I think we the last 2 years we played them, they've been exhibition games. So to play them back-to-back, or not back-to-back nights, but 2 times in a week, home and home is going to be a good test for us, and excited for them to be meaningful games for us.
What do you know about the Gophers this year?
They're a talented group. Obviously, their record speaks for itself, but at the end of the day, it's just another hockey game in our minds, and we just have to go into the game with a positive attitude and that belief of what we can do is gonna be successful. So,
how much do you guys lean on your identity in series like this?
Yeah, I think we just can't get too consumed with the way that they play and stick to our team's identity and the way that we're capable of playing. And I think the rest of the game will sort itself out.
Yeah, just real quick, because I asked Coach the same thing. Obviously you're playing a really good Gophers team this weekend, but you're also leaving CCH play to do it. Does it feel different when you're playing them in terms of a conference, non-conference game, or how does it feel going into a game like this?
Yeah, I think from maybe a broad perspective, you can see that there's points on the line versus non-points on the line. But when you show up to the rink and play an opponent, I think it's just game on mentality, and whoever's in front of us, we just have to focus on that game and the outcome of that game, and not necessarily think of a season-wide spectrum of a race for the McNaughton Cup in our standpoint. But to play a team like the Gophers, in-state rival, someone as good as them, we're going to be up for the test. And I think, like I said, it's just a game by game basis. We're going to show up Thursday and put our best foot forward.